What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping back in with some Destiny 2 stuff. We're going to talk about Season of the Drifter, the quest day that's coming up this week, and the content launching in the second week of Joker's Wild. So there's actually quite a lot of stuff happening this week. We're going to talk about how to get the Thorn in Destiny 2, all of the quest steps, and some stuff that's going to be useful to know in advance when it comes to clearing this stuff quickly, as well as a little bit of preparation that you can do if you want to. We're also going to talk about the Allegiance quest, some requirements and steps for that. We are going to get a new game update this week as well, so a few important changes and things to note. And on top of that, this week we're getting new Gambit Prime and Reckoning content, so it's going to be an interesting one. Arguably this week though, we do get more of the less Gambit focused content as well. So if you guys enjoy the video, a rating below very much helps me out, but otherwise let's get right into it. So first up, the second week of Season of the Drifter will kick off as of the reset on March 12th. Now this one does actually come with a game update, mostly with some fixes to known issues inside of Joker's Wild. So they fixed an issue where weekly bounties were resetting on Sundays instead of with the weekly reset on Tuesdays. You can see other issues with quest progression and some Gambit specific changes. But importantly, if you have experienced any issues with bounties not allowing completion, then as of yesterday's daily reset, all of the affected stuff should have reset, so that should enable you to obtain powerful rewards for this week. So stuff like the Dreaming City bounties, as well as Ada's weapon quests. But these should reset again on Tuesday, where all of the powerful drops and bounties should begin resetting at the normal times. But separate to Tuesday's update, Bungie have confirmed that many Director Challenge drops have been limited in power due to a bug which basically capped all of those drops at the lowest potential power. So basically there should be a hotfix sometime after Tuesday's update, which Bungie say will fix the issue, which is obviously great news. There are a couple of power gates worth knowing about. So the first one is Tier 3 Reckoning. Of course this is launching later in the week, but it is going to require 680 power in order to actually enter the activity. That one's coming on Friday, along with Xur bounties, which don't actually have any power requirements as far as we know. So that's some of the new content for the week, but also the Thorn quest does have a mission rated at 660 power, so it's worth bearing that one in mind, although I'm sure a lot of folks will be okay on that front. But to summarize the stuff coming up this week, we have the Thorn quest launching on March 12th, alongside the Allegiance quest. There is also going to be a new map for Gambit Prime, and that's Deep 6 on Titan. And then for the weekend, Invitations of the Nine will be launching on Friday 15th, as well as the third and final tier of the Reckoning game mode. And that'll mean that we can also get access to Tier 3 Gambit Prime armor. So let me know what you'll be doing first this week, but now let's break down some of the quest content, a few tips. So for Thorn in Destiny 2, firstly, to pick up the Independent Study quest, there'll more than likely be a prompt in the form of a mission or objective, and we'll have to visit the European Dead Zone, and there is actually a spot at the top of the Salt Mines area, which you can find by heading through the building north of Trustland. If you go all the way through there, take the Fallen Transmat beacon at the end of the room. This will spawn you to the top of the salt mines, and all the way in the top section on the left, there is a hidden passageway to a ridge featuring a camp. Now this is a new area in European Dead Zone referred to in lore cards, but also confirmed by Bungie to hold the first clue for Thorn. So spoiler alert right here, if you don't want any story stuff, but basically Shen Malphur was recently spotted at this camp by Praxic Warlock Orna, who's also been sending us messages in the Postmaster every day, but she was actually hunting members of the Shadows of Yore. And without saying any more about the identity, Shen Malphur is ultimately responsible for the delivery of both the Last Word and the Thorn to the Guardians. So this spot certainly holds some significance, and whether it's a mission that pops up, or a secret we need to find, it's very likely that it's going to be right here, so definitely bear that in mind. But once we have the melted husk of a Thorn, this is where the Independent Study quest will actually kick off. Firstly, we'll need to go and see Banshee, and he does warn us that he'll have to inform Akura of our project, but nonetheless, he's going to send us in search of some materials. This is where there are a couple of tips and things worth bearing in mind for this quest. Firstly, we'll have to collect 50 Hadronic Essence, and to get this, you can complete bounties for Asher Mir on Io, defeat Warlocks in the Crucible, or complete Nightfall Strikes. And they do say that Nightfall Strikes will grant the most progress towards this, but obviously there are a couple of different types of content you can play right there, but you can do some potential prep right now in the form of completing and holding onto bounties for Asher in advance. So if you pick up 3 before the reset on March 12th, obviously you can complete them and hold them, and that could grant you some fast progress towards this quest step. It does however apply to other steps in the quest as well, so after 50 Hadronic Essence has been collected, we'll need 50 Plasteel Plating, and these can come from Sloan bounties on Titan, defeating Titans in PvP, or Blind Well encounters, and once again when it comes to that final one, Blind Well will grant the most efficient progress. Step 3 will require the collection of 50 Sapphire Wire, and this comes from Anna Bray bounties on Mars, defeating hunters in PvP or completing escalation protocol waves. So once again, what could be worth doing if you want to try and prep, which of course you don't have to do, but you could go complete the 3 planetary bounties for Io, Titan and Mars, which presumably will grant you some progress once the quest actually is in your inventory. And then you could potentially run a quick Nightfall, some Blind Well and escalation protocol to finish those off respectively, as they come up. But once all 3 Guardian class materials have been collected, there is a step called Weaponize the Unknown, and for this you'll need to accrue 500 points, but this is going to be a percentage-based thing, so it isn't 500 kills. In fact, certain types of kill will grant more progress. However, this will require the Crucible. So it could be done by getting Crucible kills with Void Energy and hand cannons, so definitely run Void everything that you can, weapons, subclasses, but also focus on getting hand cannon and Void hand cannon kills. This is going to be the most effective way to get through this step. The step does add that if you run this in the Iron Banner or in the competitive playlist, then progress is going to be quicker, so you can do that if you like, but the main thing here is that versus the original Thorn or the Last Word quest, dying isn't going to lose you any progress according to the quest step. A huge tip for this, for Void hand cannons, if you take a look at your collections, you can look for things like the Kindled Orchid from Back in Black Armory, if you've got a good roll of that, or the Ikelos hand cannon from Warmind, as well as the Thin Line from Forsaken if you wanted a higher impact hand cannon, or indeed Cold Sweat, the hand cannon that came from Trials of the Nine in Year 1. If you have any of these in the collection that you can pick up, then they're going to be some pretty solid options, especially those precision hand cannons, the Ikelos one or Cold Sweat, they're all performing pretty well in the sandbox. This is however the only step that absolutely requires Crucible, and once you've got this done, the only thing that remains following Void Kills will be to visit Tyrakan in the farm. So the farm is the place that you may remember from the story, and it made me laugh because even the quest kind of tips you off. You can find the farm in the EDZ director on the map, but head over there, speak to Tyrakan, and she'll send you on a special mission called Chasm of Screams. Now this is actually a variant of Savathun's Song, or what they call an epic reprise version, and when you run this you'll need to defeat 2 arbiters, so Sardav and Telesh, 2 enemies that I'm pretty sure will present themselves before finally taking out Savathun's Song at the end of the strike, and this is basically where the quest is finished, so the Thorn will now be yours. Let me know what you think of that quest, guys, and whether you'll be going right after it after reset, but that's how you pick up the Thorn. It doesn't sound like it's going to be too difficult to get. Of course, we'll have to wait and see, but I'd anticipate, it might be a bit faster than getting the Last Word or something. Now though, let's talk about the other big quest coming up. Seen a lot of questions about this one, but of course, the Allegiance quest will kick off this week as well. It'll finally be time to pick between the Drifter and the Vanguard, and it's worth saying that you can pick this up just once per character, so bear that in mind. We're also not certain of the reward just yet, but it will be housed in a loyalty package that we receive at the end of the quest for either Drifter or the Vanguard, so I'll keep you posted when we get that one. To begin the quest though, we'll have to visit the Drifter, and basically we get to pick a quest line to actually run. Now of course, spoiler alert, but we are going to get into the quest lines themselves. If you decide Vanguard, then you're going to have to do the following. You'll need to find a terminal in the tower hangar where you can compose an encrypted message. Once we've got the message, we'll have to deliver it to a hidden agent in the tower hangar, and this will be a member of the Hidden, which is pretty cool, and they're going to send us on a step to actually go and bug the Drifter's new space in the Annex. So basically we'll be planting 3 different surveillance devices. I'm sure the game will prompt us as to where to put these, and then we head back to that terminal in the hangar to activate all of the bugs that have been planted. Those bugs will actually give us a lead on something that the Drifter's doing, and in order to get more details about this, we'll have to go and visit the Spider. At this point, we're basically going to have to pay him off with Glimmer, and in return, he's going to give us some juicy details about the Drifter's plan. Following this, we'll actually have to complete a heroic reprise version of the Adventure Siren Song. This one's on Titan, and then we're going to have to head back into Gambit Prime, and the quest requires us to deposit 50 motes. We will also need to defeat 25 Guardians in the Crucible following that, and then we'll have to head back to the tower to check out some new information picked up from the bugs in the Annex. Following this, we'll have to enter an activity called Mystery and Potential. Basically, we'll be searching the Drifter's ship, the Derelict, for some clues, and we'll discover that the Drifter has left some hidden messages around the European Dead Zone, so we'll have to go back and search for computer consoles in the Trustland, Skydock, Flooded Chasm, the Sojourner Camp, Extraction Site, and Whining Cove, as well as Scavenger's Den. So some of these consoles will be found in Lost Sectors, and others will be in the general patrol area. Let's avoid too many spoilers here, but what we discover in the European Dead Zone will ultimately lead us back to the Drifter for what I'm sure will be a very interesting conversation. And after that, we should be awarded the Vanguard loyalty package. Now, on the other side of that, if you decide to go with the Drifter, we'll firstly have to go to the Tangled Shore to visit our friend the Spider. The Drifter has actually asked us to purchase something called Jerky from the Spider, and the Spider will send us on a heroic version of the Thief of Thieves adventure on Titan. Following this, we'll receive the Jerky, and we'll need to go back to the Drifter. Drifter decides that we need to head into the Crucible and make it a bad day to be a gunslinger. So once again here, we'll need 25 Crucible kills, and then he sends us into Gambit to bank 50 motes. After this, he'll ask us to gather fuel by defeating Vex strike bosses, and to gather meat by defeating Cabal bosses in strikes as well. And that'll require 2 lots of fuel, as well as 2 lots of rations, so I'm not sure whether you'll need multiple strike completions, us. But once you have these materials, Drifter is going to send us to the derelict to listen to a tape that he's made for us. Obviously there's going to be some really cool story stuff, and once we've heard this and returned to Drifter, he'll send us to the European Dead Zone in search of more tapes that he's left for us. And once again, these will be hidden in patrol areas and lost sectors in Trustland, Skydock, the Flooded Chasm, Sojourner's Camp, Excavation Site, Winding Cove, and Scavenger's Den. This is where we'll get some very cool story stuff, but once those messages have been heard, once again, it'll be time to return to the Drifter, and this is where the Drifter will reward you with his loyalty package. So guys, it's going to be a very interesting quest. Once again, let me know which side you're going to go with. I'll keep you posted on the rewards, and from what we've seen in the lore and story so far, it looks like a lot of this stuff is going to be really cool. But again, as we mentioned, Invitations of the Nine launch on Friday. They'll come alongside Xur, and he'll have some bounties which can be completed in order to obtain an invitation, and from here we'll get some pretty neat stuff apparently. So it'll be like a story quest, but we can probably expect some of the more cinematic content as well, or at least that's what the trailers would suggest. But otherwise I'll be keeping you posted. I'm pretty sure that some secrets could pop up alongside Invitations and the final tier of Reckoning, so it could be a pretty good week. But if you've enjoyed this video guys, a rating is very much appreciated below. I hope the video has been useful. If it has, and you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more D2 content. But otherwise, thanks as always for tuning in, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.